his own. He gets the try.
The Red 78.
We're both Munster people.
Strawberry gets over the line. Try from Munster.
Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
Hello and welcome along. I'm Alan Quinlan and you're listening to episode 41 of the Red 78 here on the Rugby channel. Not alone. Niamh Briggs is with me. How are you? How was your weekend?
Hi Quinny, not too bad. Not bad at all.
Were you training? Matches?
We had a match. We got desperately beaten up pretty badly. We lost pretty bad. So it's been a rough couple of days from a coaching point of view, just trying to figure out where we are and what we're doing, how we fix it. So is it uncharacteristic of us or is it just where we're at? I think that's probably been the most kind of obvious emotion. But it's been a tough weekend from a coaching point of view.
An emotional roller coaster. Well, at least we've something positive to talk about this morning regarding the Munster match and their performance against the Bulls. They won 31-17. I think everyone was pretty nervous that this would be a disappointing week, and it was obviously there was some nerves and panic, I suppose, after the previous couple of results, but they won. As ever, we want you to be involved. You can always tweet us at Rugby Channel 15 or at either of our personal Twitters, or leave a comment on YouTube, or email us at the Rugby Channel at bowermedia.ie. Right, we've had plenty of reaction. I put a tweet out just, I didn't really know what to say in the tweet, other than what was people's thoughts on the performance, because the last couple of weeks, the thoughts have been pretty downbeat and disheartening. I think the performances have been disheartening, but Saturday night was much better, and the fans' reaction seems to reflect that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was great to see them get back on track. It was almost like we're home and this is our comfort zone type of an area, because I just thought that the intensity and the aggression that they brought for the game, irrelevant of what the Bulls brought, I just think that they were kind of at that pitch where you speak about a lot, that mental pitch to be ready to play games. I felt like they were on it on Saturday night, and it was great. It was great to see. Loads of super positives. So yeah, you put out a tweet, and Adrian O'Donoghue, what a difference a week make. Returning victors from South Africa campaign brought a fight and a passion back to a team that were definitely struggling. Hopefully build on that and take it to Leinster, stand up and fight. I think that was a big kind of a theme about relation to the lads returning. A great performance, a joy to watch. I think we were more impressive against Bulls than Leinster were against Connacht. Maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic. That's from Jack Quinn. Liam Sheehan, much better, a lot more aggression, good mix of the old forward dominated game plan with the new, still plenty of unforced errors, but moving in the right direction. Is Casey now the number 9, Quinny?
We'll know on Friday when the team is announced for the Leinster game. I think you don't want to read too much into it, because obviously he's been chomping at the bit and putting a bit of pressure on Conor Murray for a while. It's very early in the season for Conor Murray. He needs to find, form and big performances and remind everyone what he's capable of. But I think possibly the way Munster are playing and trying to play, and that's been a big debate in the last few weeks, its pace, tempo, his speed of delivery may suit the team more. Who knows? But
I actually thought Conor Murray did well in his start against a pack that were going backwards and a backline that were not firing. I actually thought Conor Murray did quite well. I think he moved the ball at pace, which is not something we would have associated with him. And like, his defense is brilliant. So it's going to be an interesting battle, really, isn't it? In relation to those two. Bernard says, you're never as good as they say you are when winning, and never as bad when you're losing. The Twitter hysteria of last week washed away in 80 minutes. I'd take it with a pinch of salt. Hopefully improvements can stick consistently over the course of the season. Next week will tell a lot. Joe Healy, aggressive, very impressed with Crowley and Ahern off the bench, but the real yardstick is this weekend against Leinster. And I just think, Leinster's at a different level than us. So, I think judging Leinster, win-loss against Leinster isn't really probably, efficient in terms of what we're looking to. I think we're going to look for performances and consistency of getting better against Leinster.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously I think most people realise it's a pretty daunting task going to Dublin.
Joe Healy says aggressive, very impressed with Crowley and Ahern off the bench, but the real yardstick is this weekend against Leinster. Quinlan, look, there's been loads of mentions of Leinster and how we measure ourselves off them next week, but realistically, like, we both know how tough that game is going to be, and I think that we probably need to look at more of the performances and our ability to be consistent as opposed to winning and losing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's about the performance for Munster on Saturday away against Leinster, because the reality is it's a real tall order, and the history has shown us that in recent results. The last time Munster beat Leinster in a league game was 2018, December 2018 at Thomond Park, in the league. Since that match, Leinster and Munster have played 9 times. Leinster have won 8, Munster have won 1. And that one victory was in the Rainbow Cup when Leinster put out a very, very weakened side. Munster won 27-3. So the other 8 games, 2 of them were semi-finals, 1 was a final, and 5 league games. So Leinster are the dominant side. Everybody knows that. It'll be interesting to see what the players think, because we spoke about confidence and self-belief in the last few weeks. This will certainly make them pretty alert and conscious of the fact that they need to be, that emotional pitch, that aggression, that energy has to be there, and they just have to be switched on. And it's one of those ones where they're complete underdogs and they have to bring a fight, and I think people will accept that. So it's about their performance, really, what they can control and working and improving. They're going to be under more pressure against the Leinster side this week, but they've certainly something to work on after last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you might feel like that pressure valve might be released a little bit to be able to go and have a crack. Craig Gren, delighted to see Carberry control the pace, but ultimately led by his pack. Over-reliance on crash centre ball, though, comes easy to defend against Leinster. Will look to poach. Crowley looks like a great option too. Joe, much improved performance and great to be back in Thomond. Bigger challenges ahead. Thoughts on 2 playmakers on the pitch together in Carberry and Crowley? I liked what I saw. We actually got a good few messages about that, to be fair. Look, we both know the exceptional talent that Joey Carberry has. He's been dogged by injuries for a very long time. It was brilliant to see him stretch his legs the weekend. We also know how, the talent that Jack Crowley has. We got to see it in the Irish under-20s Six Nations. We didn't really get to see a huge amount of it with Munster in the last couple of seasons. And then he goes away on this emerging tour and probably comes out of it with the gold star from his performances. I thought he was brilliant over there. But he's a jewel. He plays 15 for Cork as well. So that ability to be able to mix and match, somebody who's used to playing there, is Mike Haley isn't fit. I just thought he brings a lot of energy and he's got a brilliant step. So yeah, what did you make of that? I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's that energy that we spoke about. There was 7 of the emerging Ireland squad, 2 starters and 5 of them on the bench. So they would have brought a bit of energy, positivity. And I said this a few weeks ago, none of the provinces were jumping with joy with the fact that some of their players, and Munster probably have been affected the worst by, 10 of them initially being away. Then Alex Kendellen obviously pulled out. So they've come back with a bit of energy, and they've got to continue and keep doing that. But I think it's a collective thing. We can read too much into the players coming back. Obviously, they bring a spark, and people need an energy, and it gives them more options. It gives Graham Rowntree more options and more depth, because there's still a lot of injuries in those back 3 players as well. So they need as many back as they possibly can. But going back to the game, it was much improved. We'll analyse it more in a minute. And everybody is saying in the tweets, the test is this week, really. One guy tweeted, I'm looking for the tweet there, "One swallow doesn't make a summer." I think he's a Leinster fan as well. So I think, I'm trying to find it, but I can't. There was so many, but I think we all realise that. There's no one in Munster thinks that, oh God, we've had a really good performance at the weekend, because we'll break the performance down. It's Michael Fearon. One swallow doesn't make a summer. And obviously, nobody, I think, at this stage is going to get ahead of themselves and think we're back and Munster are great again. It was just much improved. And I think there'll certainly be more, people will be more positive that, you know, if you're going to develop and if we are going to go through a period of obviously you want to win games, but through a period of introducing young players, there'll be a little bit more patience there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, that's been the general theme of those tweets, you know, is that those young guys gave a huge amount of energy, and you know, we had the ability to be able to kind of go like steamroll the Bulls as such. I just didn't think they played that well, didn't really front up too much. But I just thought, you know, you kind of get the sense that the likes of that coaching ticket, Rountree and them, they're keen and they're eager to kind of bring these young lads in and to give them opportunities, and basically then it's kind of up to them to take them. And I just think we spoke about that emerging group and what Anton Fish had said in an interview about how those Munster boys had come together over in South Africa and said they wanted to bring back energy and positivity back into the camp after the first few weeks of performances. And I think that, you know, it's clear to see that they've attributed to that. Is that the main reason why they won this weekend? No, but I just think, you know, that ability to the kind of youthful enthusiasm, that aggression that they brought, you know, Munster fans more than anything in the world want to see a team that are trying and show aggression and turn up mentally. And then if they don't win after that, they can kind of still, you know, have something that they can hold on to. And I think over the first few weeks of the league, that was probably a big question.
Yeah, for sure. Have you more tweets?
Yeah, so Justin Foley just emailed in. On one hand, it was great to see the intensity and energy right from the start against the Bulls, plus the positivity of the emerging Ireland guys when they came on. But on the other hand, for whatever reason, the Bulls seemed to be not at the races on the night, plus we still made a lot of mistakes. But overall, finally some green shoots. What would be a good result against Leinster? Stopping them getting 4 tries to get a losing bonus point, would that seem to be the best we can hope for? I'll throw that to you.
I don't know. I think a performance. I think you can't control everything. And obviously you're coming up against a quality side. So I think it's just a good performance. The last time Munster were in the Aviva, they let themselves down very badly. They were beaten 35-25 by Leinster back in May. Against
without really firing a shot, to be fair, like.
Yeah, they had some moments in the first half, and they were ahead in the game at one stage, and Leinster just come back and kicked on and scored some brilliant tries. If you go back to the Toulouse game, 2 weeks before, I think it was, that's what Munster fans want. They want that commitment, that desire, and you know, obviously the quality of performance needs to improve going forward. But I just think if you go up there to stop Leinster, well, it's risky business. I think they've just got to try and play themselves and be brave and have the courage to go out and play. And whatever happens, happens. It's highly unlikely Munster will win the game. But you never know. Sport is funny, and I think they have something to build on. But
yeah,
they could have taken 2 steps forward and 1 step back this week. And that's my biggest fear, that they've got to bring a real fight to the game at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think reading from the squad that Leinster put out this last weekend, you'd imagine that they're going to go with big guns this weekend, like Johnny Sexton and them coming. So it's going to be a difficult task. But in saying that, you're also going up with a group of young players that, you know, have never had that trauma of the last few seasons. They've obviously been in and around the group from an academy point of view, but they've not had it. So, you know, youthful bliss, maybe.
Well, there's a good few,
can...
Niamh, there's a good few guys in this squad that were in the Aviva last May. So some of the younger players, of course, will have less baggage, but they've all got to be acutely aware of the history and the rivalry and the recent results. So that's
I'm not saying they're not going to be aware. I'm just saying they've not had that trauma of getting hammered at skate or not showing up, or that disappointment within the dressing room afterwards when you're, you know, losing to one of your rivals without even firing a shot. They some of them, like They haven't had that. So maybe, and they're also the ones I feel at the moment that are playing well, that are providing a huge amount of energy.
Yeah,
So yeah, look,
we'll
we'll see.
we'll see.
Adam Hogan on YouTube, what a difference a week makes. Big positive to see Carberry trust his body more and go for things he's avoided for 12 months in terms of contact and getting closer to the line. A Dogbo, good lord, he's a unit. Can see him in a hurn for 10 years, a la Dunners and Paulie. Also really like Daly at 15. Solid under the high ball and offers just good speed and a threat at 15. Hopefully they keep this form going against Leinster and put in a good performance.
Okay,
All
so
very valid points.
the general theme is that people were happy at the weekend, and
Yeah.
it was much better heartening kind of performance. They scored 4 tries, conceded 2. I suppose we'll talk about positives and negatives in a minute. Is that all your tweets? I've one from Joe Healy here. Aggressive, very impressed with Crowley and Hearn off the bench. Everybody could see that. That's a big, big positive. But the real yardstick is this weekend against Leinster. Again, same team, lots of people basically saying it's a vast improvement from what we've seen in the first couple of weeks and the first number of matches. So, yeah, improvement, heartening, and certainly something to work on. But big risk this week, and you're either glass half full or half empty. I think it has to be half full for them this week, and hope that they can, get some sort of a performance. We'll talk about that in a minute. On the performance, okay, so we were nervous last week with this game coming up against the Bulls because it's on the back of a very lackluster performance up in Galway. Lots of mistakes, lots of turnovers. Penalty count was 52 up before that game. Up to that game. Lots of handling errors, issues. So from the start of the game on Saturday night, my take on it was I saw a little bit more of a spark, a little bit more of determination, a little bit more aggression. Maybe the fear factor of a very physical Bulls side brought that out in them. They were obviously at home in Thomond Park. They're in the back of a lot of bad results. And I think there was that fear factor drove them to bring that energy, a desperation, if you like. There's also an argument to say that the stuff they've been working on in the previous, 4 league games, that it's taken a little bit of time. This is their 5th league game, and that it's taken a little bit of time to bed in some stuff. They've had a lot of change. So, what was good about Saturday night that you liked, first of all?
I think for me, the most important thing was the intensity and the mentality to go after the game. I didn't think we'd seen that. I thought that, their ability to probably just to get after the Bulls and not make it easy for them. Like they had two 5-minute tries from chases off kicks. I thought that was exceptional work rate. And I think it was the stuff that takes no talent. We speak about this all the time, but it was that cohesiveness in terms of that defensive line, their line speed, their ability to put the Bulls under pressure, their ability then to be ruthless enough in the red zone, the power zone, which we hadn't really seen a huge amount. And so, yeah, look, I thought there was loads of pleasing aspects, to be fair. But I just think when you go after a game and it's on your terms in relation to your defensive side, I think that, you're always putting yourself into a position where you can win.
So the possession stats were 50-50. What did they do this week that was better at protecting the ball? I think there was obviously some concerns for me, i.e. the line-out. We still are losing a number of lineouts. There seems to be a fair bit of confusion there. And also, my other concern would be the 2 turnovers. If we were lacking that bit of ruthlessness, which does take time to develop, but the 2 tries the Bulls scored were from 2 turnovers. Both times the ball was lost when Munster were in possession. So maybe it was one of those nights where there was still some nerves there. Obviously, the 2 Gavin Coombs tries were pressure and aggression, and a real kind of presence about them in that scoring zone. Jeremy Loughman's one is obviously it's a fortunate bit of luck, and people say, well, you get the bounce of the ball, but I think you create that, and it just had the feel of that type of game that Munster were going to get the bounce of the ball. I think Joey Carberry catching the ball on the bouncing ball, getting up the touchline, putting the kick through. All that stuff happens for a reason, and it comes down to that intensity piece that you're talking about, and that real fight and desire. So I think they created that. Obviously, Houston made a big mistake, but Loughman was there, and he's putting pressure. That's what they brought. The Tyburn one is similar. I think everybody would have loved to have seen some tries in the open field. One pass maybe away, or one touch away at times.
I felt like that's what I was going to say to you. I felt like it was just one pass away, which is coming. I felt like that they put players into positions that are more comfortable. So, like, we know that Archer is good at taking the ball to the line and being able to play off that. Some players aren't, and I felt like we got into a space where, the likes of the Archers, the Gavin Coons, they were the ones that were putting themselves into positions where they could actually make that pass or make the big carry. And I just thought they were smarter in how they went about their business. And when you're over the gain line and the crowd are giving you energy, you exude that energy on the pitch. And I just felt like as a cohesive unit, they attacked together, they defended together, and they showed a lot of intent.
Listen, so as a coach, why did they only give away 9 penalties this week? And they've been in double figures for all the previous games.
I'd imagine it was a couple of things. I feel like that Munster played a lot more territory, so didn't really have the ball too much in their own half. So therefore, it allowed them to play down there. I think they were probably more disciplined in terms of their ability to break down. I think that's been a really tough few weeks for them, and I think that that's an ever evolving and ever improving skill that they need to get. I thought the combination of the back row was really good. I thought Byrne, O'Mahony and Coombs were physical. They worked incredibly hard, and I think that when you have the likes of Dogbo and Jan Klein, these big guys who are mullickers, but like Dogbo getting a turnover, his ability to carry, Tom Ahern coming off the bench, you're just putting yourself into good positions all the time. And so, yeah, look, I imagine going into this week, one of their key points would have been discipline, because you and I both know that the old saying of once you get into double figures, penalty counts, you're going to find it difficult to win a game. This was the first, and even at that, they still conceded 9 penalties. To get to 10, it's very different.
Yes, some of them were on the fringes there near the end where they were defending. That has to be a big positive for me, the defence at the end. Something that you can really build on.
And just at the end as well, by the way, of the first half as well.
Yeah. That was much better, much more organised, and we've seen the Bulls score a lot of tries from those 5-metre taps. Munster defended that really well. I think something else that was positive was winning turnovers and then actually building a bit of pressure after them. So I spoke the week before about winning big turnovers up in Galway, kicking it down the touchline, losing the line out or knocking it on and actually giving it back, not landing any psychological blows. I think they were much better at that this week. So I think there must have been, obviously when you review the games, there must have been a more of an emphasis on trying to win those moments and protect the ball and actually hold on to it and not force it a little bit. I think there's still some issues around the attack and the cohesion and everybody being on the same page. I like the fact that they got into multi-phase a fair bit, and some of that play at times was outstanding. It was brilliant attack, and it was a kind of I wouldn't say a joy to watch, but it was really encouraging to watch. And I think, obviously with the back 3 players that are missing, if you get some more quality and experience back in there, but maybe they'll not get back in there because the younger players are playing well. Unfortunately, Calvin Nash picked up an injury. Liam Coombs came late into the game because of Patrick Campbell pulling out and Shane Daly had to go full back. So it's just having more options and more depth there and having that kind of finishing touch. 15 defenders beaten, 6 offloads, 3 line breaks. It's much better. I know stats sometimes can lie, but the attack was so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you look at the likes of Calvin Nash and Shane Daly, they've come back full of confidence and almost have this kind of energy about them. You know, whether it was the game plan over the last few seasons where the wingers couldn't, didn't really go look for the ball, but like prime example of the autonomy that the players have now to go and seek the ball and try and put their own stamp on it. Calvin's chip and chase, that was in the middle of the field. So like that's something that we wouldn't be used to seeing. And it was almost like there was kind of like a rip and a shock within the stadium, because it was like, this winger is turning up in the middle of the park and we chip and chase, which is probably the most, easiest place to regather one, because you're always looking their defensive or on the edges. So I think they've come back with lots of enthusiasm and energy, and I just feel and confidence. And I think
I know. I agree.
Player with confidence is.
I agree, but I think the players at home as well have got a bit of a shot up their backside as regards the performances haven't been good enough in the last few weeks. There's a combination of the players coming back, bit of energy, more players in the room, more competition for places, but also the players as well, realizing that their performances haven't been good enough, and I'm sure the coaches have let them know that. So lots of positives. I think we won't focus too much on the negatives, but I would say concerns. They've got to get their set piece right. Scrum, line out. They're going to be coming up against a different beast in the scrum this week. Even though the Bulls are very powerful, limiting the turnovers. And I think being strong defensively, I think that game back in May, very, very porous defence, very lackluster defence. They need to get in Leinster's faces this week and really kind of bring a physicality, because, Leinster have the luxury of bringing back a lot of quality. They're missing some of their internationals and have some injuries themselves. But I think ultimately Munster have got to get their heads right now and try and build on this. And I would emphasize, I don't think anybody's getting carried away, because there'll be some people may think, oh God, there's a real danger in this. And this is what should alert the players and really fire them up, because, if they go to the Aviva on Saturday and get walloped and the performance is poor, well, a couple of steps back again. But maybe that happens. This is a journey they're on. And I think the one common theme that we've had in the last couple of weeks is let's get more younger players in there. They're bringing excitement and they're bringing quality and a bit of optimism for the future. Okay, we're going to move on. Star of the week this week. Obviously, it's been tough the last few weeks, because even the Zebra game when they won, I think the performance was really flat in the second half, and there was an air of disappointment of not getting the bonus point. The other 3 games they lost. This is a win. We finally have a star of the week from a winning performance. So I'm going to pick it, and you may not entirely agree. There's plenty of players who were in the running, but I just love the fact that the star of the week this week got a bit of flack last week. He was playing at full back. He was back at out half. The debate has gone on. I think you're still a believer that there's a full back there in him, and that's Joey Carberry. I just loved his movement, his passing, his ability to, bring other players into the game and continuously looking for touches. I think he kicked well, obviously. And I just think his overall play was outstanding. At times, I think Munster there was occasions there where there was very little space and they created some stuff. So I thought Joey Carberry was absolutely wonderful last week. And I'm really happy for him, because I think he's a quality player and he's a confidence player. And he produced a big performance. And if ultimately, I think it's related to the forwards in front of him playing well for any halfbacks. And you know that as a coach, you're 9 and 10, even the rest of your backs, you can have all the quality in the world out there. I think the quality of the ball that was delivered and the options of runners off him as well, and being able to play out the back and stuff like that was so much better. So Joey Carberry is my star of the week. What's your take on it? I know you want to talk about some other players as well who played really well.
Yeah, I thought I actually look. I 100% agree. It was so. I agree with you in terms of I was so happy to see him come out and play well, because it's been must have been a really tough battle for him over the last while in terms of trying to get fit and then get in form, and just things not going very well. And to be fair, I just think he bounced back really well from last week's game against Connacht, and it's great. And look, if Munster are going to continue to improve, they need fit, healthy, and on form Joey Carberry. But I'm going to hold out verdict on my start of the week from him in relation just to getting more consistent and see how he goes in relation to that. I just think it's all good to fire off a 180-minute shot, but we need to have some form of consistency, and I just need to see more from him. But I just thought there was loads of really good mini performances. I felt for me, Shane Daly came back from South Africa and loads of good form. You know, when you've been away with those national coaches and you feel like you've got a shot, and you come back into Munster, it's almost like, yeah, look, just give me a shot. And he went into fullback at a moment's notice, and I just thought, you know, he played really, really well there. And I don't know what his best position is, Quinny. Like, he's a good centre, you know, a big, strong guy, and, you know, obviously Munster are short in centres at the moment. Maybe that's an option going down the road when everybody's fit and able. But I just think
for Jack Crowley, is it?
No, for Shane Daly.
For Shane Daly.
Yeah, I don't know. And then obviously Jack comes on and plays really, really well. And I thought Gavin Coombs, you know, carries the ball very well. I'd like to see him do more around the pitch. But yeah, look, I actually think difficult to pick the star of the week this week, even though Munster played really well. I thought loads of players brought moments of magic, and I think that's probably what you need.
So Jack Crowley coming off the bench. Edwin Adogbo starting. Roman Salanoa coming off the bench. Thomas Ahern off the bench. John Hodnett. Talk to me about those guys briefly. Thomas Ahern, outstanding off the bench. Energy, carries, getting over the gain line, full of pace and power.
Yeah, so he's obviously come from an underage system where he's played fullback. I think obviously lots of people know his story, and then to come into like an academy position as a second row, and it's taken him a couple of years to probably understand the role, develop within that role, build size. You know, he'll tell you himself he was scrawny enough and very tall when he arrived in, but he understands the game so well. His skill level is outrageous, and for such a big man, he moves incredibly quick. And so it's great to see him come on and have a few rampage and runs, but it's also the little nitty-gritty stuff that I love about him, his detail. He's starting to gain confidence now. You can see that in him and his body language around the park. So he'll be brilliant. Hopefully now he gets, you know, consistent match day 23 starts. And because Munster are going to need him. Dogbo the same. What a brilliant story for him, his club, his family, and probably the most unassuming person you'll ever meet. Just a really good guy, but like such an animal. Like that body position over that turnover in the first half, so good. So it's great. Look, you're completely right. Like there are loads of little green shoots, and I think that the youth and that exuberance that they have, and you know, finally they're getting their chance, because it's been really difficult over the last few seasons. Okay, I know they might have been capped in that last regime, but you play and then you might not play again for 6 or 8 weeks. You're trying to put all your eggs in that basket for that one game, and you know, there's no momentum, and there's no matter how well you play, you might not play again for another 6 or 8 weeks, and that's a really difficult thing. Whereas I feel like now this group, you know, they play well, they'll be playing again the next week, irrelevant of who's coming back. And you know, I hear Earls and Zebo could be back for this weekend, but you hit the nail on the head. You know, if everybody's fit, do they come back in there?
Would Jack Crowley be an option to centre?
Yeah, 12. I thought he was I seen him play 12 a little bit when he was under 20s. I think there was a couple of injuries with Ireland and he had to go in there, and he hits hard. He's got an unbelievable passing game. His footwork, it's his footwork in and around that tight space that I absolutely love, because it sits defenders down, and they can't rush up then because they're afraid he's going to step them, and then all of a sudden he's way more space and he looks like he's got loads of time on the ball. So yeah, why couldn't you? Okay,
there's a lot of positives there with those young players. And obviously Gavin Coombs being back as well gives that bit of physicality. He's 2 tries. still issues and concerns
Yeah.
regard the depth in certain areas. So front
Yeah.
row. So if we move on to Leinster this week and you're coming up against Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan and Tyg Furlong, what did the Munster front row do? And can they get parity and get a scrum? Is that an area that they can get a real edge on Munster? And what do you expect from the performance this week? What do Munster need to bring performance-wise? I think stating the obvious is that physicality, that emotion, a little bit of anger as regards. I saw some players coming off the field last year, and it's not a personal attack, kind of laughing and joking and walking off with Leinster players after being beaten in that game in May. And that kind of irritates some people. It irritates the fans. I think what we saw against Toulouse, people can accept that when you're beaten. I know it went to penalties, but this game has probably lacked a bit of niggle as regards. I'm not calling for niggle or anything like that, but I'm just calling for a bit of an attitude thing, a bit of a poker face from some of the Munster players, and a relentlessness. And then the reality is, their quality will probably get them across the line because they do that to most teams when they play them, Leinster, and they're one of the best in Europe, if not the best. They're right up there with their depth. So I think the obvious thing, and I think we'll both agree on that, is that they've got to bring a real high emotional pitch. It's hard to do that every week, but they've something to build on. From a performance-wise and a tactical point of view, what do Munster need to get right this week?
Yeah, I think Munster need to be brave. They need to go and try and play. I think you try and stemmy a team like Leinster, you're going to be on the back foot for the whole game. And you don't really have the ability then to fire a shot. I think Munster have to be brave in terms of trying to play. I think they've got to try and continue to move the ball. Continue to get to the edges, continue to, play within that shape to be able to probably cause Leinster a few more problems in around that 13 to edge channel. I think they've got to kick well. I thought they kicked very well against the Bulls the other day, but it was the pressure that they put on them and then after the kick that I think really probably ignited the energy within the group and the crowd. They've got to see something similar. But I think if you're going to try and go out and use the analogy of parking the bus, I think you're going to find yourself going to be under a huge amount of pressure because Leinster just lap that up. Whereas I think if you go and play and you have to be brave in the attempt and you don't win, you can come back and say, okay, listen, this is what we can fix for Ulster. Because let's face it, Leinster and Ulster are ahead of Munster in terms of where they are at the moment. We have now an ability to go and play and beat Ulster at home again. Whereas I think if you go and don't fire a shot, it's a harder week the following week.
It's about getting something out of the game, really. Are we crazy to think that Munster can't win this game?
No, I think they can. I think anything can happen. I do. I think anything can happen. And that's not like me being absolutely nuts. I just think sometimes, you can just, like that Toulouse game for a second in my mind last year, I just didn't think Munster could even compete with Toulouse. And then they come and they bring with this performance, and it's the ability to maybe, if they can bring something like that again, or something a little bit different in terms of how they attack, then and build on that defensive performance against the Bulls. Yeah, of course they can.
I heard Stuart Lancaster speaking about it yesterday. Has the Dennis Leamy factor, does that help Munster a little bit as regarding, I think all the players know each other pretty well, and people know the history, but does he help the situation regarding, what way they'll be talking about Munster this week?
No,
there's a kind of a drive and desire to really beat Munster every time. Sounds very straightforward because every provincial team wants to beat each other, but Leinster want to keep Munster down here. Leo was talking during the week about, we need all the provinces to be strong, but ultimately Leinster will be really gunning to hammer Munster on Saturday. Does that little factor that Dennis Leamy has been there a few times in the last couple of fixtures, he knows what that's like. Does that help Munster any bit? Because I think that you have to realise that, Leinster did everything in their power and they did. They nearly knocked Munster out of the playoffs last year, and they loved it.
Of course they did. It's like, of course Leinster want to be trouncing Munster like they would do Ulster. And I don't really think that plays a factor into this at all. I just think
Not the
that
psychological part, but maybe tactically how they would approach Munster.
Maybe. But I just think that if you start going down the road of concentrating on what Leinster might do or might think and what they're saying, you're losing focus on what you and your group are doing. And I think that, like, obviously Dennis Leamy as a player. I am fascinated by him as a coach. I think he's unbelievable. If you sit back and listen to him, he's incredibly astute. He knows the game so well. I think he could be a brilliant head coach someday. And he'll be very aware that, as long as Munster continue to focus on Munster, continue to build from last week, continue to get, more savvy in relation to their defence or even around their contact zone and get more hands on the ball and more possession and more territory, then Munster could be in a good position to win this game. So I don't really think that what they're doing and saying...
I'm probably not trying to over-egg that in a sense, but it's just that bit of temperament that some of the young players, just to realise that they become very, very fired up for this Munster game. And that I think if Munster, it doesn't get you the results, you still got to go out and play. But I just felt the last couple of matches, Munster were a bit calmer and didn't fire a shot early on and didn't kind of make a statement. So maybe that's something they have to do. So obviously, what you say in dressing rooms doesn't really matter. You've got to do it out in the field.
Yeah.
That's it for episode 41 of the Red 78, all wrapped up. To make sure you get your podcast straight to your phone every week, just search for the Red 78. And don't forget to get in touch with your thoughts on the performance or any thoughts on what's happening next week and where Munster should have went. You can tweet us at Rugby Channel 15 or search for the Rugby Channel on YouTube and leave a comment or email the Rugby Channel at bowermedia.ie. Just before I let you go, Niamh, is this about performance or result?
Performance.
Performance, yeah. Do you think we'll get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, let's hope. I think it'd be I think it'd be brilliant. I think everyone would love to see.
I'm very aware of where Leinster are as a group, how far along the track they are together.
Yeah.
But so that's why the result doesn't really come into question for me. I think if we can come away out of that saying, okay, listen, the 3 points that we've done really well this week are this, and then build on that for Ulster. I think we've got to, there's got to be an eye on Ulster as well.
Okay, fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks, Niamh. Chat to you next week.
Thanks, Quinny.
The Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
I'd like to think I know a lot.